What are the fiscal outcomes when all of these cases are getting into the 40 system? Well, the DHS can boast, they can come in front of the legislature, they can write to reporters, put it in the paper that they've collected record high child support through the system. They've collected $595 million in state fiscal year 2005. Then they also come back and are discouraged and say that they need tougher enforcement measures because they say there's a $1.5 billion child support debt in Minnesota. And everybody's astounded, thinking that's horrible. You know, all dads are deadbeats. Well, wait a minute there. The truth is that $1.5 billion worth of child support debt includes 30 years worth of debt with compounded interest, and that debt includes all debt that they have reported to the finance department as written off. But they still like to talk about the big debt that nobody's paying. The funding scheme gets very complicated, and that probably is another half-hour discussion. We can get into some of that in the Q&A if you want to. But basically what we're saying is because they're recruiting so many people who don't need to be in this system, who should not be in the system, who aren't supposed to be in the system based on the federal law, that the system, the 40 system, is growing on the backs of people who should not be in the program and who probably would have paid anyway. But the more people that are in the 40 system, the more money that the state agency gets from the federal government, whether it's needed or not. I could give you lots and lots of numbers, but it can glaze over an audience really fast when you start talking a lot of numbers. So I'm only going to limit myself to 3 different slides here on the numbers. If we need to get into more numbers in the Q&A, we can do that or another time. But based on the most recent report, the Minnesota DHS Child Support Performance Report, these are the statistics. Right now in the Title 40 program, only 18% of those on the program are on welfare, and 61% are former welfare recipients, and 21 are never public assistance. Now, when you just look at these reports, glaze over them, you don't think much of this. But as we've started to question this program and how are there 249,000 people in this program, that's where we figured out the expansion of the program, that everybody and anybody's getting in this program, and it's not limited to those that were intended by Congress. There's the US numbers if you have any interest in there. It's kind of interesting to see those. The problem is nationwide, and that's why we've also been working with Washington, but it's going to have to be a federal and state combined effort. First of all, let's look at that former welfare class. In Minnesota, if there's 152,000 people in the 40 system, that's 61%, we've done the research to find out how many of those should really need the services. Well, remember I said no application requires the applicant's income, so they don't keep it in PRISM, as far as I know. There's no way to track what is the income of these recipients, but the U.S. Commissioner of Child Support Enforcement has found a study, and she may have commissioned the study, I'm not sure, found a study that 30% of the people leaving TANF have a likelihood of coming back. So we know that not all of those would even should be in the system according to congressional intent. As we work the numbers, based on our research, we believe that the 40 caseload in Minnesota could be reduced by 56%. And that could be reduced if we take out 70% of the former public assistance and 70% of the never public assistance. Now, this is all an estimate, but no one's been able to show us that our estimates are wrong. And if we can save 56% in expenses, maybe that's money that could be used elsewhere in a time of financial need for our state. There's a lot of numbers here. The main thing that I want you to point out is the 20% and the 40%. What's interesting is in that non-PA welfare column, the total number of recipients, that includes 20% of the total recipients, but they're getting 40% of the money from that group, because that's where the higher child support orders, when, as the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee said, they're recruiting from the middle class, even the upper middle class, to get these higher orders in the system so they flow through, so that the state can say, we dispersed $589 million this year, aren't we wonderful?